The fall of 2017 marks a significant milestone at Metropolitan Community College. It's the start of our campuses becoming smoke and tobacco free. And coming up on Metro and More, you're going to learn about the history of this initiative, the deliberative approach taken by the college before making the decision, details of the policy and the reasons for it. There's a nationwide trend for college campuses to go tobacco-free, and a big part of that is to promote wellness and healthy lifestyles among students, staff, visitors, and employees. And there's more to it than all of that. We'll talk about it coming up next. I'm your host, Kent Pavelka, and we welcome you again to Metro and More, MCC, a smoke and tobacco-free environment. Greetings from the set of Metro and More at Metropolitan Community College, serving more than 50,000 students with over 120 programs at our 8 locations in the daytime, evening, weekends, or online. And with me in studio to talk about MCC going smoke and tobacco free in the fall of 2017, John Carl Dankovich, the program coordinator of Metropolitan Omaha Tobacco Action Coalition, Julie Langhold, who is the Dean of Student Advocacy and Accountability, and Delaney Stevens, who is a respiratory student. I hope I got all that right, or at least I was close.
You were close.
Good to have you all here. Let's talk about MCC, smoke and tobacco free. Before we do that, let's just go down the line, just a little bit about your background, professionally, personally, maybe.
Julie Langhold. I've been at Metro for nearly 20 years in a variety of student affairs roles, most recently Dean of Student Advocacy and Accountability. I work with special student populations, and I enjoy my job, and I love working with students and advocating for the well-being of all of our students.
Very well. John Carl.
I'm John Carl Dankovich. I work with the Metro Omaha Tobacco Action Coalition and several of our community partners, and I've been sitting on the Smoke and Tobacco Free committee with MCC for about a year. I hold a master's in public administration focusing on nonprofit management, and I've been doing this work for about 2 years. And I became involved after being personally affected because my grandfather developed esophageal cancer and was the second person in the U.S. to have his throat reconstructed with muscles from his chest after being a longtime smoker after World War II. So I kind of left the private sector to move into doing this work because it was a calling. So I'm feeling really good about the move that Metro's making.
Very good. And I mispronounced your name. I apologize.
It's okay. It happens a lot. It's one of the better pronunciations I've heard.
Delaney, tell us about yourself.
I'm Delaney Stevens. I'm in my second year of respiratory program here at Metro, and I plan to work probably in a hospital after that because I enjoy the hospital setting. So.
Okay, let's just jump into this. The Smoke and Tobacco Free Initiative beginning in the fall, September 17th, right?
September 17th.
2017. Explain what it's all about.
Well, the college has talked about smoking at the college for a long time. Our initial policy was in the early 1990s. Prior to that, faculty and staff and students smoked in our buildings. And then there was a large push at that time to move them to designated smoking spots within our buildings. When I first started at the Elkhorn Valley campus in 1997, you would walk in and there was a room dedicated to smokers, and the cloud just hung in that room when people were in there smoking. And then there came a period in the college where we moved smoking outside to designated smoking areas 25 to 50 feet away from our entrances.
It's the early 90s?
Early 90s. Actually, about 1997 is when we moved to outdoor smoking areas. And then a couple years ago, we added e-cigarettes to prohibit the use of those inside. They had to also use those outside at our designated smoking areas. President Schmazel, a couple years ago, did some open forums at the college, started gathering information. And then last summer, the college had an opportunity to apply for a small grant from the Truth Initiative, which is a nonprofit that is geared to helping community colleges become smoke and tobacco free. So we started working on a small grant. The college formed a smoke and tobacco free task force made up of faculty, staff, administrators, people from facilities. Students were invited to join and began working on, is this a good plan? Where are we going to go with it? We did some, there was a survey of faculty and staff in the spring of 2016 that supported it. We surveyed students in April of 2017 and found that we had a majority of our students are supportive of a policy, and we took a policy to the board in April of 2017, which they approved, and now September 17th, the college will be smoke and tobacco free.
Right. So share with us what your role and interest is in smoke and tobacco free environment here at Metro.
I'll defer to Delaney first.
I'm just going to be working with the task force here, so I mean they'll have me go to health fairs and stuff like that, set up tables, so I can just give people information on quitting smoking and how to make the process maybe easier for them, or
Yeah.
yeah.
And that.
Yeah.
John Carl.
So for me, I was excited to join the task force because part of my role with Metro Omaha Tobacco Action Coalition is providing technical assistance and facilitating campuses, businesses, organizations going tobacco-free or curtailing their policies to facilitate the best possible, healthiest options that bring tobacco out of communities where it affects people most. And Metro is one of the last college campuses in the area to go tobacco-free. And that's not surprising because tobacco companies and the tobacco industry as a whole targets the communities that community colleges serve most, which are communities of color, communities of lower socioeconomic status, communities that are youth, communities that are essentially marginalized in any way. And so it doesn't surprise me that, you know, we have faced a lot of preparation to get us to this point, and Metro Omaha Tobacco Action Coalition is happy that we could be of assistance for that. So I'm really looking forward to the implementation process because I think that the committee and the college as a whole has done a really great job in preparing for this process and for the actual start date.
Even though it would appear to be pretty obvious, probably better stipulate what is the policy.
Policy is that there will be no smoking or use of tobacco products, including e-cigarettes, on Metropolitan Community College campuses or facilities that are controlled by the college. And that includes our parking lots, sidewalks, buildings. The designated smoking areas will be removed. So if individuals want to smoke, they will need to do it off of our campus locations.
Let me ask you this, aside from assisting people to quit smoking, which is part of this process at Metropolitan Community College, you know, it seems to me that this is similar to any proposition. You look at something from the outside and you say, well, how hard can that be? You know, no smoking as of September 17th. As I mentioned, a deliberative process. I mean, what all went into and what's going to go into it from this point on that makes it so detailed?
When the task force started working last fall, we had about 35 members, and we had a group that worked on the policy, that did a lot of research on other colleges' policies, looking a lot at the University of Nebraska Omaha's policy that they implemented in the fall of 2016. Mm-hmm. We had a group of education processes, so that education group worked at looking at how can we educate the community. So that we've done some table sets. 2 of our counselors attended the Freedom to Quit training, and we've offered smoking cessation on campus.
You missed your call, by the way.
I did. Why is that?
Go ahead.
So that education group did a lot of work. We had someone from our chemical dependency program, a faculty member, so that understood that whole addiction process. We had someone from our faculty or our staff development work with us to help promote activities. So that group did a lot of education. And then we had a group that worked on assessment so that we could do surveys of students, and we did some open forums to gather input on people's feelings about it. And then we had, trying to think what else we did.
That's a lot.
We did a lot.
Yeah, you did.
We met every single month. All the work groups worked really hard at having a strong plan. Oh, we had a marketing and public relations group that also worked on putting together a college webpage that has information related to smoke and tobacco free at MCC.
So you all just, you wanted to cover all the bases as best you could, and not just put up a day this would be in effect and let people fend for themselves, I guess, is basically it, huh?
What we know from watching other colleges do this process is the more work you can do on the front end with starting that this is coming, be prepared, this is why we're doing it, clearly communicating a policy, is that then compliance and cooperation will be much higher when the policy goes into effect. And we allowed plenty of time to do this. Many places will have an implementation of 30 to 60 days from policy determination. Yeah. We've taken 6 months to make sure that we've communicated it.
Everybody knew 6 months ago.
Yes, we would hope.
Yeah. So what do you do from here on?
The biggest thing I think is support. Support for students, and when Delaney and I were talking earlier, it's about letting people know that there are resources that are available to support students, faculty, staff, even visitors that are coming to campus that decide that they want to quit because it is an inconvenience. And
an inconvenience to not smoke while you're on campus.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there is a balance between the physical part of addiction and the psychological part of addiction that tobacco creates for some people. Some people are able to just put down a nicotine product and never pick it back up again. Many people, and the majority of people, are not. In Nebraska, 76% of Nebraskans are dual users with e-cigarettes and burning cigarettes. So they just use one when the policy doesn't allow them to use the other. And so the problem is that e-cigarettes, and the reason why they're dual users is that e-cigarettes generally contain 3 to 5 times more nicotine than a burning cigarette does. So then you have the issue where now they're addicted to 2 different kinds of nicotine-related products as opposed to just one. And so this policy really is at its core about creating healthy environments for students, faculty, staff, and visitors, and how can we support people transitioning from tobacco use to, and this isn't personal, and so many people make it personal because it is such a big part of people's lives when they are using a substance so frequently, and it's not personal about the smoker themselves. Nobody is anti-smoker, or it's anti-smoking or anti-tobacco use, not anti-tobacco user. And Metro Omaha Tobacco Action Coalition tries to make that very clear as well, that this isn't anything personal about the person, because we are very clear that the tobacco companies invest about $55 million in Nebraska alone. I think that was the stat that we had for the previous year. They're expected to dump probably about $68 million this year into Nebraska, and we get $1.1 million to invest in just Douglas County.
You talking about marketing?
just for marketing. So that doesn't include research and development or all of the other things that they do to try to keep people hooked. Point of sale, marketing, like the 2-for-1 deals or the 99-cent specials or the coupon clubs that they have to try to keep people hooked. And these are the things that they do to try, and marketing, like keeping the prices high in certain areas of the city where marginalized communities are concentrated, and leaving the price low in other areas of the city. And so these are the types of insidious things that at certain areas of the industry are known for. And so they're no friend to anyone. They're here for the profit.
Delaney, speak to the ills of the health repercussions that you want to share with students and anybody who happens to use our campuses.
Yeah, as a smoker, you're 90% more likely to develop lung cancer. And there's also several other diseases that can accompany smoking, like there's emphysema, COPD, bronchitis, like the list goes on. And you lose your lungs, you lose your ability to breathe, and it's devastating. There's really no other way to put it.
Do you feel like folks don't know that?
Yeah, I feel like, a lot of people they think they're immune to it, they think it won't happen to them, and it's just not true. You're increasing your risk of developing all these diseases.
Mm-hmm. So what we haven't talked about yet is what do you do with violators?
That is the big question. We recognize that this is a very addictive substance and that it's going to take individuals time. It's like any other policy at the college, we expect compliance. So we are hoping that as we support people, provide information, that we won't have a huge issue, but it's like any other policy violation. For employees of the college, you're expected to follow all policies at the college, and there's a progressive discipline process that would be used. Our student code of conduct also addresses policy violations, whether it's the smoke and tobacco free or any other IT or any other policy, that if you're a chronic, repetitive
Demerits.
person, you would face a student code of conduct process.
Which I assume comes in stages.
Which is a stage process, which would come out of my office.
And in the end, you aren't welcome here, or you can't be here.
We would continue to work with individuals. What we have found is that for most institutions, that using that progressive approach, education, warnings, tends to help prevent repeat offenders. But it's really that chronic offender that probably will face more severe, but we hope it doesn't come to that.
Yeah.
And that's why we've worked really hard on the website to provide resource information, the health fairs, alternatives. During the fall quarter, we'll have stress balls, so people that say, I smoke because I'm stressed, will have a stress ball that they can use. Or we know, I think John Carl, that one of the things is that sour candies and mints and gums are also a good replacement to help relieve some of that cravings when you aren't able to smoke on campus.
I think what smokers need to know, or tobacco users need to know, is that there is a time where all that goes away. It's just getting there, which is so difficult. What I'd like to do before the time completely gets away from us is let you kind of make your points that you want to make about the policy and anything else that has to do with no tobacco use at Metro.
Well, I would just like to make the point that this has been a team effort at the college. And there are a lot of resources that we've worked on, the website, that we will continue to work with the Metro Omaha Tobacco Action Coalition for resources. John Carl will be able to address some of the statewide resources that are available. We want to continue to support students, which would mean Delaney's involvement throughout the rest of the year will be very critical. The health fairs, and that this is not about individuals, this is about the health and well-being of the entire college community.
I'll echo the point that it can feel very personal when it's such a part of your daily habit, and it feels so hard to quit and relinquish a part of yourself, and because it's become such a habit. But on a statewide basis, when MCC isn't offering specific health fairs or a specific cessation class or something of that nature, statewide we have the Nebraska Quit Line, which is free to access, available 24/7. You can access it by phone, you can access it by
What's the number?
an app. That is a great question, and we will publish it. We will have it published both on the website and on the
We'll put it up here too.
yeah, and we'll have it available for you. You can access it via the website. There's also an app you can download by going to the AnyQuit line on either Android or iPhone and downloading it that way as well. But it's available in 176 languages. And by downloading that, you can access a quit counselor anytime, day or night, 24/7, 365. For that extra support, and there's 80% success rate
Wow.
by using a quit counselor.
So those apps, what would you put in the search field for iPhone, for example?
For searching for that, you would really just put Nebraska Quit Line,
Okay.
And that would take you directly to that specific Nebraska Quit app to use, and that gets you the Nebraska State resources. And then over the period of every year, Nebraska will offer nicotine replacement therapy days where we'll offer 2 weeks of free nicotine replacement therapy. We tend to do it 2 times a year, and we have that grant renewed again for this year. So
Gums, patches?
yep, gum, patch, and then right now, unless healthcare policy changes, almost under the Affordable Care Act, you should be able to access through your insurance company or through Medicaid, you should be able to access through any primary care physician nicotine replacement therapy that is prescribed, like Wellbutrin or Chantix. So it's important that you consult a physician to get those types of things prescribed and come up with a quit plan with your physician. So in Heartland Family Service and most primary care physician providers will have that that form prepared for you and can send that off and link you to those resources as well.
Delaney?
There's also a website through Metro's webpage that you can access to get more information on how to quit. And
Is that the one you were referring to?
Yes.
Yeah. It's mccneb.edu
/ smoke free.
/smoke free. Okay. I think it's / isn't it?
Is it?
I don't know.
I always
try each way.
I usually have to try both ways before I get it.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking back to what your point about 6 months, you gave the community 6 months warning, sort of. I would imagine a lot of people have successfully quit in anticipation of this. Or I would also imagine there'll be people who will try to stick it out.
To the last bitter end.
Well, and then try to smoking cessation for 8 hours a day, right?
Yep.
While they're here.
And most people have 4 to 7 attempts at quitting before they're successful. So it's important that people remember that just because you weren't successful your first time, there's a lot of things that we try the first time and aren't successful at. So don't give up because it's your first time quitting. If you want to quit, you can be successful. If you fall off a horse, get back on. Don't give up just because it's your first time. If you want to quit, you can. And we provide these resources as a team so that you can be successful in doing that. And again, the compliance piece isn't about punishing people. It's about giving people the resources to quit. The compliance piece is about keeping the campus healthy for
Correct.
everyone. So that's the biggest thing. It's not about punishing people or to make people's lives more difficult. And that is, I think, one thing that we want to hammer home. It's not like, what can we add that's just one more thing you have to worry about? So people who already have asthma or COPD can't access campus in the same way with drifting smoke or drifting aerosol from e-cigarettes when we have designated smoking spaces on campus, because the smoke doesn't know it's a designated smoking space, and it drifts and triggers asthma attacks and things like that, as I'm sure Delaney can speak to. But the smoke doesn't stay within those designated spaces, and that's part of the problem with designating those spaces. So,
And what we found was in our research is that it's not just the drifting smoke. We put our employees at risk when they have to clean up those spaces, cleaning up cigarette butts, etc. So it's also protecting the health of our employees so that they're not exposed to all of the waste that goes with use of tobacco products.
Important too, I think, to note that you don't get fired for being a smoker,
No.
even beyond the implementation
Right.
of this. I mean, you just can't smoke or use tobacco on
Right.
campus. But if
Exactly.
you are
If
a
you are-
smoker after that,
It's not a condition of employment
Yeah.
at the college. We're not. There are obviously places that have said if you're a smoker, we're not going to hire you. The college has not gone to that extreme.
so as involved as you all have been with this, are you like nervous about how difficult it's going to be for some people to deal with this?
I think we want to help. I don't think that we're nervous about how difficult it is. We just know that it is a change. It's a culture shift at the institution, and we want to continue to provide as much support as we can. The webpage will continue to be updated with additional information. The nice thing about having a student that's in respiratory care is that we're going to be able to add things that are relevant to students and information.
Such as, for example?
Well, no, that is the questions come up as we go into this initial period.
From the students, you mean?
From the
Yeah.
students.
so you're in charge of frequently asked questions.
Yes, and we have a whole list of frequently asked questions. So, and Delaney may help us add to that as questions come
Frequently asked questions about the policy
up.
or
About the
quitting
policy.
or-
About the policy. Why did we do this? What does it mean? The details. We want to encourage people to be responsible citizens and neighbors to our surrounding businesses, because we know that we want to be considerate of them too.
Sure. Minute and a half left. Final thoughts? Parting information for our viewers?
I'm excited. I think that the people who are not ready to quit yet and want to wait and see how this policy affects them, most studies show that the majority of people who smoke or use tobacco and nicotine-related products want to quit, and those who aren't ready to quit will probably wait out this policy a little and see how it affects them. And I will say that many of those people are very respectful. The vast majority of them are very respectful and are not. It's not an us versus them mentality at all. And will be very respectful and conscious of this policy. So we are happy to work with them and support them in any way that we can, whether they continue to use tobacco or not. So as long as we're all respectful of the policy, I think that we'll all be fine together as a campus community.
mccneb.edu/smoke-free. Julie, John Carl, and Delaney. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Great,
And thank you for being with us again on Metro and More. Our goal, to better acquaint you with the mission, leadership, and the reach of the college. For Metropolitan Community College, I'm Kent Pavelka. If you have comments or questions about the program, please email us at metrovision@mccneb.edu. Thanks for watching.
This has been a Metrovision production produced by Metropolitan Community College.